Hi, my name is Elizabeth Wagner. I'm a hand weaver and a textile designer. Welcome to my channel, Illumination. In my last video, I started to get all of my warp ends cranked on to my floor loom for a scarf project that we're learning to weave with. So I stopped at this point, and I have most of my warp already cranked onto the warp beam in the back. All of my warp ends are threaded through my heddles, and all of the warp ends are also threaded through my reed. So I'm here at the moment, and I'm going to move my beater back and crank the warp a little bit farther, but first I want to pull on it just to give it some even tension. And you just keep working it this way the whole time that you're cranking the warp on. And I'm going to turn the crank a little bit more until the point where the warp ends are almost ready to tie onto this front rod. And this is way too much waste, so I'm going to pull on the warp a little more, get the tension as even as I can, and I'll let this hang down and crank it a little bit farther so that I can get it tied onto that front beam, or the front rod. I still can crank some more. And that should be pretty good right there. You don't want to crank it so far that it goes through the reed, and that would not be a good thing. Okay, so I think I'm going to stop right there because this would be about the right amount of distance that I need to get the warp ends. You can crank them more, but I'm just going to give it plenty of room on the end so that I can tie onto this rod. So basically, now that you've got all of the warp wrapped onto the loom, you start tugging a little bit again to even the tension out. And I usually start with a grouping just sort of in the middle. You can eye it. It doesn't have to be perfect. But I take about an inch of warp ends in the middle of the warp. Make sure they're straight and kind of an even tension. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split my little group in two pieces. I'm going to go over the metal rod, keeping the two sections separate, and then I'm going to go take them both over the group like this and tie a knot. I hope you can see this good. I'm going to tie this knot over the section. I'm going to split the section in two, wrap the two sections around, and use the two sections to tie a knot. I'll do it again. About an inch. And pull them so that they're all even in tension. Let me take another two. Okay, so I have about an inch of warp ends there. Pull them for even tension. I'm going to go over the metal rod with the two sections divided, and then I'm going to come up and tie a knot over the entire group, like that. Okay, and then I go kind of back and forth so that each section is done in the same way. So you have to go section by section, about an inch or so of warp ends. Doesn't have to be exact. Go over the rod, bring both sections up, and tie a knot with them over the entire grouping. And do that on each side until you've got all of the warp. Try to pull the groups with an even tension and sort of smooth them out. And I'm going to pull 2 more ends into this group. Okay, sort of pull them so that the tension is even. Go over the rod, up and over the section, and tie a knot. And try to keep the tension even. Don't pull on one individual warp end more than another, because it'll mess up the tension. So I'm going to continue doing this, and in my next video we will finish tying all of these warp ends onto this front beam, onto the front rod. Just continue doing it with these groups, and on the ends I usually make a smaller group because it helps with the tension. Usually if you lose tension anywhere, it's on the ends, it gets slack. So I'm just going to do a real small group on the very end. Tie it the same way, just fewer warp ends. And this one I'm going to tie the same way also. It helps keep a good tension on the end, or on the selvages, or the sides of your piece. I'll do the same over here. I'm going to pull the 2 sides up and make a knot over the group. And the end, one more. Last one. Okay, so you get the idea. You need to do that for the entire warp. And if you join me on the next video, I'll show you how to even out the tension and get to the very beginning of your piece so we can start to weave. Thanks for watching. See you next time.